Today we're talking about lead gen sites. They might seem convenient when building your handyman business, but are they cutting into your profits? Let's break down if lead generation sites are where you want to spend your attention or not. My name is Becca. I run the Handyman System.
My name is Caleb. I own North Seattle Handyman.
Alrighty, so what we want to talk about today is lead generation sites. We're talking about HomeAdvisor, Angi List, Thumbtack, Yelp, all of the sites that are saying, we've got lots of leads for you. Come spend your attention here. We'll give you the leads. You'll be dialed and you don't have to work for the business. That's their sales pitch, right? But we want to talk today a little bit on how good are they actually? Are they bringing you leads that are actually going to build your business, or are they potentially bringing leads that are going to be cutting into your profit?
When I first started my business, I got calls from companies like HomeAdvisor, Angie's Leads. I didn't have enough work to say no, so I moved forward with them. I have other contractor friends that use these systems. My understanding of the way lead gen sites work is they spend a bunch of money up front in order to get a free service for homeowners to find contractors. They make money, those leads, and them to 3 to 4 other contractors. I've heard it might be closer to 10, but I don't know for sure. They then take that lead and they send it to maybe 3 to 4 other people.
Sure.
Then it's basically a competition between those 3 or 4 people.
You, as if you are one of those 3 to 4 people, have paid said lead gen site for said lead.
Now, whether you get the job or not,
Doesn't matter.
You pay for the lead, not the sale. Then it's up to you to call them as quickly as you can and then basically sell them that you're the person for the job. As a solopreneur, I found this frustrating because I was in the field working and I would get these leads hanging drywall or doing millwork. I had to maintain focus. I can't constantly be distracted. And I would miss opportunities. Let's say they give up to this many leads per month and pay $600 for 60 leads, $10 a lead. I only was capable of calling and interacting with maybe 3 out of 10. By the time I got to them, I had already gone with another contractor. Now, I have friends own a landscaping company, and they had an office guy. They made that system work clear. I'm not saying this is a negative experience for everybody,
Sure.
But when it did work as a solopreneur for me for those reasons. You have no control over when you get the leads. Mm-hmm. They'll just send them to you and you have to start making phone calls. The final thing I didn't like was it removed the leverage from me to the other person. Instead of someone call me and say, hey, I want to do this, and I could say, maybe I can, maybe I can't, I would be calling and looking like I needed their work. I do not like to look like I'm wanting something. I've always had for success, I take it or leave it. If you don't want to do work with me, no problem. There are plenty of fish in the sea. I'm trying to service the customers that want to work with me. I wasn't able to have that same leverage with a customer. I was actively calling, trying to say, this is what I can do for you. Oftentimes they want you to give them a price over the phone. And I'm like, I need pictures, like or a walkthrough, and it's assumed that it's free. So there's the negative parts of that I didn't like. I went with more of a Yelp mode contacting me or a Google.
Yelp's interesting because they've got their lead gen site and a more classic directory site. Lead generation sites have their place, but as a long-term strategy, you can find more profitable ways of marketing your business. I suggest SEO, search engine optimization. It's how we make Google your friend, how we make sure your website shows up when somebody searches for a handyman in your area. Links on other sites that point back to your site is called a backlink, and it is something that is beneficial. Have profiles on every directory site you can. There are hundreds that can point back to your website, HomeAdvisor, Thumbtack, Yelp, all. Have profiles there. Recognize if these are going to be good quality leads, or if the lead generation sites are built to say, I don't know anything about these businesses. I have let's say an exterior door installed. I don't know these businesses. I put in that I need an exterior door and get told that I'm going to get contacted by 5 contractors. This is training your lead to not care about you, but want something fast and cheap, because all of a sudden they're getting overwhelmed with calls. They go, well, if there's an abundance of people who can do this, obviously the supply and demand is in my favor, and I demand a lower price and also say I want this done tomorrow, which puts you as the contractor in position of lower authority, lower power. Long term, that's a play to lose all your profits, because you're constantly trying to be the cheapest and fastest. That's not how you build a profitable business. Now, what I tell my clients when they're starting out, be on the lead generation sites. Play the lead generation game while also having a Google My Business profile, which is a free get reviews. And as many jobs as you can on the lead gen sites, and ask for reviews on Google so that can optimize your Google page. When somebody types handyman near me, your business to show up next to where those lead gen sites are, might click on you, instead of where they're paying a lot to be at the top of search functions. They're like, well, I farmed this out to different contractors and charged them $100 per lead. The lead gen site, whether or not the client found somebody or not, they made their money back. They said that lead came in and we made $500 no matter what happened with that job. To them, they're like, success. On the contractor side, you're going, oh, but now I have to do it fast, cheaper, I'm not going to get the lead, spending all this money, and it's a downward spiral. There is a time, there is a space in your business that the lead generation sites can be beneficial, especially at the beginning, but it is the short-term game plan, if you listen to my suggestion, not your long-term game plan, because you lose all your leverage by focusing only on those platforms.
One of the things that was distasteful for me was the sales. It's like, if you ever watched The Boiler Room, it's some guy we can get you in. And I'm like, dude, I said no. I tried to remove myself from them. And then I've got to go through 3 different levels. They are going to try to sell me something else. I found that to be distasteful.
That's how they're making their money, right? They need you as the contractor. If all contractors stopped, they would change, but they know they've got the money to pay for the ads to show up at the top of Google to get attention, because they're telling the client, look how easy it is to work with us. If you show up with your own website saying, look how easy I make it for you, and there's a human connection, you can win. Should you be on lead generation sites? It's a great idea if it's free, especially if you can add your website, because it's a link back to your website, which will help your Google rankings. Recognize the game you're playing. Recognize how the lead gen site, you and the lead are interacting with it, and where the benefits are, and make sure that it is a cost benefit plus to you. And when it's not, stop and go for long-term value things. Like, there's other types of ads that you can do. You can do SEO, you can do social media. There are other ways that you can show up in front of your clients that is not a race to the fastest and cheapest.
Absolutely. In the beginning of starting your business, there would be experimentation. You want to come into that experiment with eyes open without being jaded. I recommend that when you try it without a sense of, without a suck, because only one person. Also be aware you never want just one. It's the word of mouth and SEO that you eventually have the leverage. The customer asks you and you can say, I'm 3 weeks out, happy to help. I charge $125 as a walkthrough fee. Those are harder conversations when you sell them. Rather than them, you give me some pricing for your thing and you say, I'm happy to, but this is how I do.
And to come back to that strategy, I talked a little bit about at the beginning, if you're like, I'm going to be on these sites, and then you get the clients, build that relationship. So the next time that person needs somebody, they are not going to go to the lead gen site. They're going to call you or come to your website. Also prime them to leave you a review, not on the lead generation site, but on Google or Yelp.
Let's talk Yelp.
Let's talk about Yelp.
Yelp is an interesting animal.
They're partial directory, partial lead generation site. Depending on where you are, a lot of people use Yelp. I used to do Yelp ads, and in some areas of the country, Yelp was phenomenal. In other places, parts of the country, it completely flopped. It has to do with the culture of how the community uses Yelp.
Yeah, I found that even to just pay to have a profile, I found value in it. It was $90.
It's $125 for a month, depending on
prices
who's
have
with
increased.
you.
From that perspective, before I ever advertised with them, and I occasionally advertise. My enhanced profile is $125 a month. I needed to work 1.5 hours to justify that cost. I got enough people to contact me. It was worthwhile. I had a Yelp profile. We experiment with advertising here and there. We still get work through Yelp. I found more value in Yelp on the other lead gen sites.
The interesting thing about Yelp is they have lead gen where contractors pay for lead details. They also have classic CPC advertising like Google, where when somebody comes to Yelp and types in your like handyman and your area, there's a directory that comes up and the sponsor paying for the advertising show up at the top. It teaches clients differently than lead gen, which are like, here's 10 people who are going to call you instantly. It allows your profile come up, and the strength of your profile and the information and the reviews are going to say if that client calls you or not. Cost per click is where you as the contractor remain more in control of the narrative and the leverage to say this is why we are more valuable versus everyone paid to have the phone number to call that person and there's only one job. So it's an important difference between the two types of...
I like my customers to have some skin in the game. We ask our customers to go to our website, we front load the website with our pricing. People self-select out in the first 6 months for all comers. But as you grow,
you can be more selective.
Yes, you have to become more selective. I really like to have customers have skin in the game, which means they spend either money or time interacting with you. Whereas the lead gen sites it's much the opposite, right?
And we'll do a whole video on the strategy with the online form instead of a phone number and paying for walkthroughs. We'll go into the strategies that I help all my handyman clients get set up on that started with North Seattle Handyman, why it works, why it's beneficial and why in the end it's also beneficial for the client. That's all we have for today. If you've got any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section.